Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. My name is Brandon Drum, here with Parker Thune. Got a lot to talk about.
And
Rivals
yes,
camp yesterday.
I did get sunburned again.
Yes, he did.
Just to address that right off the top. Yes, folks, I did get sunburned again.
I too was out in the sun, but as you can see, the sun loves me a little bit more. But actually, I don't know. Would it love me less if I didn't get burnt? Seems like it likes you more, right?
Yeah, I'm too dang European, Brandon.
Yeah.
What's funny is, growing up, I would never get sunburned ever. The entire phenomenon of the sunburn has only become a thing for me in like the last 5 years. I grown up, I'd be out every single night, summers in Nebraska for 4 or 5 hours at a time. Never used sunscreen, never needed to. I would just get real nice and tan. I still do get pretty tan, but occasionally, as was the case yesterday at the Rivals camp, there is a sunburn that comes attached to that.
Well, that is unfortunate. All right, we got the Rivals camp that we're going to talk about. Lots of OU targets there. OU wide receiver recruiting in 2026. And we are also going to talk about some QB transfer stuff as well. So all that right here on this OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. But first, we need to thank some sponsors.
And that starts, of course, with Riverwind Casino, OKC's premier gaming destination for nearly 2 decades, folks. Over 3,000 or almost 3,000 electronic games. Shouldn't do false advertising there. Almost 3,000 electronic games, table games, bars, and dining options, plus the best live music in the metro. It's no surprise that Riverwind is always a good time. Also want to give a shout out to Jana King, a proud partner of OU Athletics and the greatest team to ever clean, delivering spotless results and solutions for stadiums or any size business across the country. You can check them out at janiking.com. That's JANIKING.com to see which of those solutions works best for you. Also, folks, meet Huel, the nutritionally complete, ready-to-drink meal. Again, Huel, Huel, is a perfectly balanced meal which saves you time. It's designed by experts to provide all the nutrients your body needs from a meal. It takes the guesswork and time out of healthy eating. No prep, no cooking, and they taste so good. You can get them in flavors like chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, banana, even iced coffee. It's a complete meal in one bottle, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar, so you feel full, focused, and ready for your day. No prep, no cleanup, just grab and go. So start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% plus a free gift when you use our exclusive code OU Insider at Huel.com. Again, 15% plus a free gift for new customers using the exclusive code OU Insider at Huel.com. Please see our description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled.
All right, so I think we can talk about the Rivals camp on a little bit later in the podcast. We can start with quarterback transfer portal. I think that's going to be the most
to start.
Yeah, I think that's where the fan base would probably want us to start. That would be probably the most important. The roster for 2025, it leads more importance than 2026 and 2027 kids, I'm sure. And that's not to say that 26 and 27 kids aren't important, but present, it is what it is. Oklahoma obviously lost Cole Gonzalez. And the funny part is that Eli Holstein was at Rivals camp with Jeff Christensen yesterday. And obviously Cole Gonzalez transferred to Pittsburgh, where Eli Holstein appeared to be moving in the right direction to potentially play quite a bit.
He's still the incumbent starter.
Yeah. So, the funny thing is I don't know that let me rephrase that. I don't think it's funny in any way. Eli Holstein trains with Jeff Christensen. Got to talk to him quite a bit. just relationships that I have with Jeff and stuff like that for obvious reasons. But Eli was telling me that they had no idea that the QB room was going to be flipped up, turned upside down this portal, let alone this late in the portal. And that was a shocker to everybody. And they didn't say anything to Eli about it. And he said that was the weirdest thing is that where college football is today is so far from where it was even when he got into college football in 2023. It's just it's a completely different ball game as far as how the portal goes. And I guess it just because it progresses every year a little bit more and kind of gets its own identity, he said, but it's just different. So as much as we were surprised Cole Gonzalez got in the portal, I don't think that actually I know for a fact that going to Pitt wasn't a shocker, right? I don't think that was the
With
shocker. It
how it
was
all
so
came
obvious.
together,
Yes.
it's not hard to see what went down there,
No,
right?
not at
He's
all.
in the portal Thursday night. He's on a visit Friday. He's committed Saturday morning.
To his former offensive coordinator at
Correct.
Western
So
Carolina. So,
I think everybody understands what happened there.
yes,
It is what it is. Oklahoma wasn't planning on having to shop around for a third string quarterback in the portal, but the circumstances dictated that.
yes,
And
it did.
so Cole Gonzalez's departure meant that Oklahoma had to go looking for another portal quarterback, ideally a guy with some experience. And to be clear, the Sooners did inform their current quarterbacks that they were going to make an addition via the transfer portal. Although, it wasn't hard to tell that that was coming because we've discussed this on a million different occasions at this point.
Four is the
Granted,
number.
you will
Yep.
you will never see Oklahoma carry less than four scholarship quarterbacks as long as Brent Venables is the head coach.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I think that goes back. This goes back to I think the Jaden O'Neal situation, right? Where they were like, look, there's a good chance that we're going to only have two, maybe three quarterbacks. We got to take another 2026. I understand. Again, we get to talking about the 26 QB situation because it kind of all goes in hand here, but it all kind of goes together where four is four. They got to have four every year, one way, and it's going to be dang near impossible to get a really good transfer portal kid to come in with Michael Hawkins coming back and or John Mateer returning. Zero chance you're getting a Cole Gonzalez type. The fact they got Cole Gonzalez was a shocker. Remember how big that shocked everybody that he chose OU?
Over Pitt at the time. He
Yes.
he had an offer from Pitt that portal cycle to go rejoin Cade Bell and landed on Oklahoma instead. And I believe he had UTEP and Charlotte that were offering him the chance to come in and start,
Yep.
and he picked Oklahoma. And it lasted 4 months. I mean that it
It was
goes
only
in
going to be a
the
year regardless.
oh yeah, it was never going to be more than a singular year, but
Yep.
Oklahoma didn't expect him to transfer out in the spring window. He did,
Yep.
and now the Sooners have a new target in their sights.
So let's talk about the new target.
Let's do it.
Can we dive into that yet? I don't
Yes,
know
we
if
can.
it.
Yes, we can. It's
Okay,
on there.
there we
So,
go.
yeah, Whit Neubauer. Whit
There you go.
Neubauer is the name you're going to want to keep in mind if you're an Oklahoma football fan, mindful of the fact the Sooners need another quarterback. Whit Neubauer was in town for a visit this past week. He is a 6'6", 225-pound sophomore to be, formerly of Mercer. Mercer, a program that won the Southern Conference at the FCS level this past year. And Whit
Mhm.
Neubauer, as a true freshman, played in 9 games, had 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was the guy that led them to a Southern Conference championship, as well as an appearance in the FCS playoffs, which, if you're an FCS team, I believe it's a 16-team playoff field. So that's kind of the goal for everybody. That's the CFP of the FCS. You get to the playoffs. You had a pretty dang good season, and Mercer did under the leadership of Whit Neubauer. Now, he hit the transfer portal after his true freshman season, looking for a destination at the FBS level, potentially even Power 4. He's got the size, he's got the arm talent to be able to make that type of jump, given what he did at Mercer as a true freshman. And Oklahoma identified him as the type of guy that they'd love to bring in and be their third string quarterback if that was something he wanted. Now, no doubt he's going to have other suitors at his disposal. Probably a situation similar to Cole Gonzalez' first go round in the portal, right? Where you have
Hmm.
a school like a UTEP or a Charlotte, maybe not those two specific schools, but you got G5 suitors that are interested in having you come in and compete for a starting role, potentially be their guy. And you have to weigh that versus the opportunity to go to Oklahoma, where in all likelihood, you're not making a start, at least not in 2025. You're probably taking a red shirt if everything goes according to plan. And so you don't have the same capacity to compete for a starting role at a place like Oklahoma as you would probably somewhere in the G5. So
Yeah.
um, different guys are going to make different decisions as to what is best for them. Obviously, the first time that Gonzalez was in the portal, he figured, okay, being in the room for a year at Oklahoma is superior to these other options that I have. And then he reevaluated that decision come April. So we'll see what Whit Neubauer decides on the OU side. I've been told they feel good about it, told the visit went well. So no decision here as of Monday morning from Neubauer. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Do you think they go and grab, or at least dig in to maybe go get? It's obviously going to be the fourth string guy at this point, right? Like that's. I actually let's. I wouldn't go there.
Well,
At least third string guy.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
but
whoever they
let's
bring in
say
is
they.
going to be battling with Jet New for the
Yeah.
third string
For
role
okay,
in all
so
likelihood.
if they swing and miss on Neubauer, do you think they go and try to grab somebody else? I kind of feel like they have to.
Yes, and they will. And at that point, if not Neubauer, what I've been told is that they're going to look for a 1 year guy, of which there are plenty out
Yeah.
there in the portal market. Guys that just need a home. Somebody like a General Booty comes to mind, right? Who got some starting
That would be
experience this past year
awesome.
at Louisiana Monroe. It'd be great if he came back around to Norman. But again, Neubauer's the priority right now. They want to close the deal on him. They want him on board. If they don't get him on board, then you
Booty.
reevaluate and make decisions accordingly.
Hey, hey, they need to bring that booty back. Yes, play on words. Love it. All right.
Moving right along.
All right. So quarterback situation, it is what it is. People probably in the comments going 26. What about 26? Same thing. It is what it is at this point. We'll see where the official visits land. But um, as far as wide receiver goes, oh, wide receiver recruiting in 2026 is not fun. It
It's
feels
an adventure right now, to say the
it.
very least.
Yeah, wide receiver has just been an adventure as it is. We'll get into the players that we witnessed and watched at the Rivals camp here in just a minute. But as far as current 26 targets that made decisions,
Hang on, hang on. Let's rewind here, Brandon. Spring ball starts at the beginning of March. Who were the two wide receivers in the 2026 class that we
well,
figured, yep, don't have to think twice about it. They're going to be on board with Oklahoma in the 26 cycle.
one was Alger Miles.
That is correct.
Who would have been the other one?
Not far away.
Oh, Mason James. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. See,
And
but
now
I
here
don't
we
think
are
of
in
Mason
May,
James the way
and
you do because you were more apt. I didn't put. Did I put a pick in for him to Oklahoma? I did, but it was after you,
Miles or James,
James.
I don't recall. But
I don't call her either. Somebody
no,
in the comments
it
can
was
tell
like,
me.
okay, Oklahoma's going to take four receivers. You got Alger
Yeah.
Miles. You got Mason James. Who are the other two? And now here we are in May. And obviously, Jim Nagy's hiring impacted the way that Oklahoma is recruiting
100.
every position in the
Yep.
2026 cycle. But it feels like bizarro world to be sitting here. Alger Miles is already off the board to SMU as of yesterday. And Mason James is going to come off the board to whom yet? We don't know, but it doesn't look like it's going to be Oklahoma.
No, it doesn't. It looks like it's 100% SMU at this point. Money, money, money. He took a visit. Isn't it weird that the first official he took, he just went ahead and went, yeah, you know what?
Well, that wasn't his first official though.
Was it his
He
second?
it was his third. He'd done OVs with Oklahoma State and Stanford already.
That is
He had like eight
right.
or nine on the schedule.
Yeah,
So
that's right. That's,
this and
I forgot the Stanford one even existed and Oklahoma State. But I
yeah,
didn't think that those were because he went to the spring game, right? For Oklahoma State, correct?
I think so maybe.
Yeah, it was a spring game. I believe it was a spring game. I forgot about that though, because it just didn't, it wasn't like something that was like prominent on our socials. So like
Yeah.
it's something that just kind of you glaze by. And plus I never really envisioned Oklahoma State or Stanford being like players in this recruitment.
Yeah, I mean for the longest time it's been OU, SMU.
Yep.
And SMU always felt like it didn't really feel neck and neck, right? It felt like OU was the clear one,
Hmm.
SMU was the clear two, everybody else was just chasing.
Yeah, but
But SMU got him on campus first. And like, this is the thing, man. This is the thing that happens during OV season is those schools that make the plays for the OVs early in the schedule. And at this point, that used to be the first weekend of June, but now it's May, even April in some cases, where schools are getting guys on campus for OVs. The schools that try to get guys on their campuses earlier rather than later, which is what the Sooners do. They want to get the last shot at everybody. They got the Champion Barbecue scheduled as they have typically in the past for the final weekend of
right.
June. SMU and a school like Clemson. Clemson, you remember what they did with Bryant Wesco a couple cycles ago,
I
right?
do.
They
Everybody,
get him on
yep.
campus for the very first OV and convince him to shut it down, and that's their play, right? They're going to take their chances on having not only the first impression to make with a kid, but also
The only.
making that impression count such that it is the only impression. And they're going to put the kids in a pressure cooker, right? They're going to give them every reason in the world to commit, and they're going to prod them to commit when they're there on campus. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it really does work. And sometimes it works in dramatic effect, as we saw with Clemson back in the summer of 2023 with Wesco. It's a phenomenon that is pretty common for Clemson. I wrote this morning, it's something you got to worry about certainly with Carter Scruggs, who's a guy that we'll talk about a little bit later on that's taken his first OV to Clemson
Yeah.
at the end of May. But if it was always going to be OU and SMU for Alger Miles, and SMU got the chance to make the first impression of the two during OV season, that's a possibility that is always on the table. And whether or not it comes to fruition, it's just something you have to be mindful of, man. If you get a school like that has a lot of juice behind what they're doing, and SMU does, they just went to the college football playoff, ton of renovations to those facilities and stadiums, right? It's a $90,000 a year education, and they got deep pockets as far as the NIL and the financial backing of the program. Man, that's a lot for a kid to sit there and digest, and you can't help but
Hmm.
be impressed by it. Some kids are going to be impressed enough that they'll choose to shut it down right there in the moment, and Alger Miles was one of those.
I I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what Oklahoma. You better, you and I were texting last night, and you probably um, put it better than I could put it. But sorry, I gotta get the. They've got to go get one of their top picks. Period. 100%. Right, and that better be Gross, Davion Gross. If they don't go to Frisco and grab Davion Gross, what what do you do as like a headliner at wide
Well,
receiver, Parker? Like, what do
yeah,
you do?
Zachary Turner from Duncanville.
I get that,
I
yeah,
mean,
but
that's
a lot of people see him. Some people see him as a tight end. You and I don't. OU doesn't.
OU doesn't, yeah.
But there are people recruiting him as a tight end, and I guess that kind of goes in line, right? Um, he's going to remind a lot of people of Braden Willis coming out of high school, just physically, right? Because he wasn't the biggest, but he ended up being big and strong. but he had the frame. Um, Trying to think, who else do you think he reminds you of out of high school? I guess frame wise.
Frame wise, I'll be honest, and it's not an exact comp, so don't take it as such, but I think there are a lot of Manny Choice parallels with
Oh, that's a
Zachary
good
Turner.
one. That's a good
Like
one. Manny Choice is
Manny
a good one.
Choice shows up to Oklahoma at 6'4", 212. Zachary Turner is listed at 6'3", 205. And if you just watch him on film, he looks a lot like Manny Choice.
Mm.
He's closer to a tight end than Choice was. Like there was never any question that Choice was a wide receiver. But I watched the tape and I like Turner at wideout. Man, he's explosive. He runs good routes. And obviously, what has it been demonstrated that Jim Nagy likes in wide receivers since he got to town?
Height.
Size. Yep.
Hmm.
Likes the size. And Zachary Turner is a sizable dude.
And we were joking. We were like, well, Tristan Yancey, uh, as good as he is, maybe the best wide receiver at 27. Eh, not tall enough. We're joking, sort of. Um, sort of. There's some validity behind it, but yeah. But Gross is what, 6'1" ish, so he's got the chance to actually, yeah. Oh, you better go get him. Oh, you better. It. I'm gonna pull up the offers real quick, and this is a fun game. How, who do we think OU takes or gets, not takes, gets in the 2026 class as far as wide receivers go?
Okay, so
I'll
I
say Gross. I'll go with Gross being one. I'll say Zach Turner being two.
yeah, I mean those feel like the two highest percentage options right now.
Hmm.
I
They got Daniel Odom committed, but does that stay?
well,
And
exactly. Like I think the fact that that's
Jaden
kind of
O'Neal
an
matters.
afterthought right now in the calculus, and I like I will say, people on the OU side feel like, well, again,
Watch
okay,
your
so
words.
take
Watch
this
your
with a grain of
words.
salt. Take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying this is how I feel or this is how you should feel. I'm just saying this is how folks on the OU side feel. They feel like Odom's going to stick. He said the right
Yes.
things. They've had good conversations. They feel good about where things stand. Again, that's not me trying to convince you to feel a certain way, just letting you know what the vibe inside the building is with regard to
The-
Daniel Odom. But I will bet you, Brandon, I will bet you right now that there is a wide receiver in the 2026 class for Oklahoma on signing day that does not yet have an offer from the Sooners.
there's a good chance of that. The funny thing is that as much as Zion Robinson was like a TCU guy and has been a TCU guy, for the life of me with Nagy and us knowing what we know and seeing what we saw at the Under Armour camp a few months ago, with his size, I am shocked Oklahoma hasn't tried to go all in there. Just because he's a 6'4", 200-pound wide receiver. Like, I don't, again, but I get the TCU thing. It may be just wasted breath. We're kind of burying it. Oklahoma offered Dallas Dickerson this
They
past
did.
week, and you spoke with him, and he's already got an official visit
Well,
with
it's not
Oklahoma.
concretely on the calendar, but they're lining it up.
Gotcha. But he's
It's
six foot
just
one.
yeah, 6'1", 180, runs a 10.36 in the 100 meters, man. So you want to talk about a guy that has size and speed. Dallas Dickerson has that.
He looks like a Georgia wide receiver, by the way.
Yeah, he does look like a Georgia wide receiver, and he's 15 minutes down the road from the Bulldogs campus. So I think that's one that you kind of have to,
Yeah.
even if you do really like him on tape, as I do, I really like Dallas Dickerson, but you kind of got to adjust expectations accordingly because if ever Georgia gets involved, it's probably over.
Yeah.
As of right now, I love Oklahoma's chances with Dallas Dickerson. I think it'll be OU or Florida, the two big schools that just jumped into the fray. He's got OVs set with Kansas State, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Indiana, but he understandably is pretty enamored with that OU offer. that
Hmm.
Florida offer. It seems to me like it'll come down to those two schools unless Georgia gets in the picture. And if Georgia
Yeah.
gets in the picture, I think he's a Bulldog. Simple as that.
And I think one of the hardest things to look at, because remember when Brock Boyd got the offer from Oklahoma, how it seemed like OU was just like in a decent position, like because it was at camp, if I remember correctly, and he was so
Yes.
good at that camp. And I was talking to his parents when they got there, like they were emotional about it when it happened.
Hmm.
He commits to TCU. I don't know why Oklahoma backed off a little bit. Like they didn't just push for him like we all thought they were going to. But you want to know who did? Ohio State, and he's committed to Ohio State. I have to say, Parker, if Ohio State wants a wide receiver, generally you probably should too. Just going off baseline here of what they've produced and done. Oklahoma used to do that under Dennis Simmons. They were the kind of Oklahoma and Ohio State were the teams like if they offered a wide
Well,
receiver,
yeah, okay, yes and no. Like there's certainly validity to what you're saying. But what you don't see is the blue chip wide receivers that Ohio State signs that end up flaming out or transferring after a year because they're not
that's
going
true.
anywhere on the depth chart. So like there's two
That's
sides of the
true.
coin. There always is. Like you got to get there, you got to produce. And so I don't necessarily look at it as okay, if
But they
Ohio
but
State
they
offers a
they
wide
go
receiver.
somewhere else and they produce though. I mean, look at Williams at Alabama, right? He was like fifth on the depth chart right after he got injured. I understand that. I get all that. He goes to Ohio, he goes to Alabama, and becomes he plays for the I think the Colts, or no, he plays for Detroit Lions. Plays for the Detroit Lions. I mean, who else was there, Parker, that transferred and from Ohio State and ended up being really good? Um, I know there's another one. Help me out here. I feel like Oklahoma played them. Am I thinking of somebody else?
I'm not sure who you're thinking of,
Who
but
else though outside of Williams like has gone on and produced after they left Ohio State?
I
Nobody.
I I do not know.
I think that's the one that always pops in mind for me because obviously he got drafted in the first round and was up for. Yeah, he ended up re-injuring himself, I believe, right before the playoffs or in the playoffs at Alabama, right, with the torn knee. Um, but anyways, I get what you're saying. I just feel like if Ohio State is there's some validity to the fact that if they're pushing for a kid, they see something that somebody else doesn't, and I would trust what they see.
I look at the wide receivers that Ohio State has taken in the last 3, 4 cycles, and yeah, there are some hits. Jeremiah Smith, most notably, but there are also some big time misses. Guys that
Who's that?
never did anything. Like Bryson Rogers, Kyon Grays, Caleb Burton, Kojo Antwi. Like you can
But
go
what
on down
grade
the
is
list.
what Caleb Burton? Where's he at?
He's at Auburn now.
Okay,
2 catches for 49 yards last year.
at Auburn.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember him. It was a big deal that they got him too, and then he flamed out there. So
Mhm.
I do remember that. Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. But they get so many guys that produce that you just kind of feel like everybody they get produces.
Well, they always have, it feels like they always have at least two dudes that are
For sure.
rock stars,
Yeah,
right? And so it's a matter of can you pick out the rock stars?
yeah.
Can you pick out the rock stars amongst all of the detritus?
So I think we all kind of feel like who's going to be their rock star um, this year, along with Jeremiah Smith. It's got to be Brandon Ennis, right? You would think.
Yeah, we'll see about Ennis. I don't know, man.
Speaking of
I don't know.
former Sooner
Yeah,
commits,
for me, jury's still out on Ennis. Jury was kind
yeah,
of always out on Ennis. I don't know what kind of player he's going to end up being, but
yeah,
you have
for
Jeremiah
sure.
Smith, you have enough.
Yep. Craig Dandridge is another guy that I always thought Oklahoma was going to continue to press for, and that thing just kind of didn't feel like
Well,
it.
I'll tell you, it hasn't. I actually just spoke to Dandridge a few days ago. He's heavily considering an Oklahoma official. It is not one that's on the calendar yet, but it's being
It's
talked about
quiet.
between him and
Yeah.
the staff. Yeah, it's been a quiet recruitment for him. He's got 6, 7 schools that he likes that he'll
Hmm.
consider over the next few months, and Oklahoma's in the mix. But yeah, it doesn't really feel like now that Alger Miles is off the board, doesn't really feel like there is a wide receiver in the 2026 cycle that you're like, okay, I would be stunned if he didn't wind up in OU's class.
Yeah.
Even Davian Gross, like, would shock you if he went to Texas A&M, would it?
Nope. He actually won. No, that's who, if I'm Oklahoma, that's what I'm worried about.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm saying you have to make sure you got to do everything in your power. I would say it doesn't. And as far as I think people tend to forget how good he really is because I think we have him ranked 55, 56, something like that. At least last time I checked. I know there's a new ranking coming out today. Let me see where we got him at right now. I think he is. No, I got to refind him. That gummit, we brought up Gross again, and I had already moved on from him, Parker. Do you know where he is? You got it looked up,
Where he is what?
ranked.
Oh, no, offhand, I do not.
It's top 100 though, right?
He's a blue chip player. He's top 100. I know that much. He may be top 50. Okay, here you go. Number 52 in the country.
Yeah,
Number
I said
52 in the
55,
country.
56.
Number
Yeah.
two athlete.
Yep. So, and there I went to wide receivers instead of athletes. That's why I couldn't find him. But um, yeah, you got to do whatever you can. Like number 52 player in the country, he's the highest on the board. He's loved Oklahoma for a long time.
Hmm.
You've got to somehow find a way to grab him. Have to find a way to grab him. As far as, and you brought up Carter Scruggs earlier,
Hmm.
and we'll kind of segue to the rivals camp here. Um, man, he, and I say this in the most unweird way possible. He is a good looking kid to look at offensive line. Like it is his
He's the right kind of
frame.
specimen. Yeah.
Yes, it is crazy. And his person, I hope, I'm going to say it. I hope he goes to Oklahoma because I want the fans to enjoy what this kid is. And let me explain what I'm talking about. He would go to center, to tackle, to guard, back to center, and he would bounce back and forth in the 5-on-5s
Hmm.
to get as many reps as he possibly could. Between him and Jalen Brewster, and I think it's what's Kamara's first name? I don't want to mispronounce it. So
Oh, Ismail.
Ishmael, Ishmael, Ishmael Kamara. Those three were fighting for reps the whole time. They were in it. They went up against each other as much as they possibly could. They wanted to go up against the best and the best. And Jalen Brewster is one of the top defensive tackles in the country. We're going to talk about him. I spoke with him quite a bit at the camp. I spoke a lot. Parker and I both spoke with Kamara and Scruggs a lot. Like, so we both have a pretty good feel. But Parker did write ups on them. So, but those three just Parker, they battled and they battled and they battled and they battled. And Kamara's a 27 guy, Scruggs
Hmm.
is a 26 guy, Brewster's a 27 guy. But as far as Scruggs go, his personality, he loves Coach Beatenbow so much, and he just has a smile on his face. Like he gets in there, he gets hyped, and like his intensity is just insane. And then he gets done with his reps, and he walks over and just starts smiling and laughing and joking with everybody. Gets back in line again to go, and like the face just straight. Like he just has that switch. But he's also just the nicest kid in the world. As far as interviews go, if for you fans to get him in front of a camera and watch and see what he's like, I hope he goes to OU just for that. He's going to be a fan favorite. I'm trying to think who he reminds me of at Oklahoma. Um, Personality, he kind of reminds me of a young Creed Humphrey. Creed was had a great personality on him. Now, the older Creed got, the more stoic he got at Oklahoma because that's just what OU players do for some odd reason at
Hmm.
OU. I don't know why, but um, Creed just had a great personality on him. He was just so personable off the field. even when waiting reps, always. He actually kind of reminds me of David Stone a little bit too. Because David, that smile that he has is just like it's infectious. So I just hope OU fans get that. But as far as who he is as a player, holy crap. Um, he came down from Virginia, people. From Virginia to a Dallas camp because he wanted to go up against the best offensive line. And the DFW and Texas normally have the best crewment of offensive line. If you want to go get a good offensive lineman, people go to Texas. That's where you go
Mhm.
normally. And that's what he wanted to go up against. So you got to respect that. He is if if Oklahoma can get him, they're getting a guy you think that can start maybe year two on campus, right?
Absolutely.
He's
And
that good.
somebody with position versatility too.
Hmm.
And it's easy to see why he's a blue chip prospect in the 2026 class. If you had to pick him out, you probably could have picked him out on
Easily.
Sunday, even if you didn't know who it was, man. The footwork is just next level.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
he's incredibly quick on his feet. He's strong, good punch, obviously tenacity in the demeanor. He's he's a Bill Bedenbaugh offensive lineman.
Yes, he is.
He's the type of Bill Bedenbaugh offensive lineman that if he were to choose Oklahoma, shows up, gets that coaching, gets that seasoning for 3, 4 years, he's going to the NFL. It's
Yeah.
interesting, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, Brandon. When you look at Bill Bedenbaugh's track record with the guys that he recruits out of high school and develops, it's really, really interesting that you see almost no middle ground. Either they flame out and they transfer or they're absolute studs, right? Like, when was the last time Bill Bedenbaugh recruited a guy out of high school that was just kind of a ho hum starter?
Um,
Not a lot of those.
yeah, the only one I can think of, the kid from Michigan back in 2021. Um,
Kid from Michigan?
yeah, he's originally from Michigan. Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Um, hold
I don't,
on. Yeah,
I mean, I
fans
guess,
hated him starting. They hated him when he started.
oh, Eric Swenson, is that who you're
Eric
thinking of?
Swinson. Yep, that's what I was thinking of. Eric
Yeah.
Swinson.
And I mean, I guess there are guys that fall in that category. Tyrese Robinson.
Oh, T. Rob was
Mark,
good though. He was so versatile.
yeah, he probably,
Tackle,
he got a
guard,
raw deal. He had to move from guard to tackle as a
and he's
senior.
not a
That
tackle. Yeah,
yeah, Marquise Hayes, but he got drafted.
they
And
both
so
didn't they both get drafted? Did
I don't think
Robinson not get?
Tyrese did. Hayes was like one of the very
Yeah,
last picks in that 2022 draft.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
No,
like if you come get developed by Bill Bedenbaugh, what's either going to happen is you're not going to cut the mustard and you'll wind up in the transfer portal and playing somewhere else, or you're going to the NFL. Like
yeah.
there's not really much of a middle ground there.
But yeah, and that has to do with Bill Bedenbaugh's personality. You're either gonna fall in
Yeah,
line with what he is teaching you, or deuces.
you can handle it or you can't.
Correct. And I you got to respect that. And I think that's the thing about Scruggs is like he's going to respect that. He's going to fall
Oh
in
yeah,
line like that. I'm telling you, you can save this, you can bookmark it, you can do it. That dude is going to be good in college. Good in college
I'm with you on
because he's going to work. And you gotta hope the guy like a kid like that, you hope he goes and plays for Bill Bedenbaugh because not just because you're an OU fan, because you know what he can be if he plays for Bill Bedenbaugh. Um, Another guy, Ish Kamara,
that. Yeah.
Gilmore, another Gilmore. Like, and he said it when he tweeted out his offer from Oklahoma. He said it. Join the lines of East Texas and Gilmore players that have gone on to Oklahoma. There are a lot of them.
Who was the last Gilmer guy for OU? Who would that have been?
Uh, See, I remember Manny Johnson, Justin Johnson. Um, who would that have been, Parker?
I don't know
That's a
because
good
like
question.
recent,
There
I
for a
can't.
long time. Yeah, it was before 2010. Like after 2010, I don't remember a whole lot of them, but before that, it felt like there was a long list of kids from
Yeah,
Gilmore, Texas.
Manuel Johnson he was a Gilmer guy. I
Yep.
remember that much.
Justin Johnson was a running. They called him Bus. I do remember that. Um, he was a running back, number 25 out of the 2007, 6, 8 class. I can't remember. But yeah, it was just, he was like East Texas, Gilmore. Most kids go to Oklahoma, like in that area from the Longview, Tyler, Gilmore area. It's very, very Oklahoma prevalent. Adrian Peterson comes to mind, right? Like, um, from Palestine. Or how would you pronounce it? It's not Palestine, is it? It's
It's
Palestine.
Palestine.
Palestine. Yeah, they pronounce it differently. Um, but yeah, and he talked about that when I was speaking with him too. He's like, man, for somebody that's coming over from Europe, from I think Paris, right? Like, isn't that crazy how much he knew already of it? But he said it's what he's wanted to do was play college football. Like that was his goal. And he felt like he was destined for it, which I think is weird to hear a 15-year-old talk like that, by the way. But he said, I'm destined to play college and NFL. Hey, more power to you, brother. Like he was the most confident kid out there. And for somebody from Europe to have the understand the intensity, because he was talking a lot of crap too. Remember? Like he would clap up in dudes' faces and stuff when he got done going up against them. Not what you expect from a European. I'm sorry. That's just not like culturally, that was more American than it was European. And so he really fell in line with the American way, American football, and all that already. He is dominant. He loves Oklahoma. You have more on it than I do, probably, but because you actually interviewed him, I just kind of talked with him. But I guess he's going to try to get up and camp with Oklahoma a little bit.
That may happen. Yes, may happen. But he was up for spring practice a few weeks
Yep.
back.
Yes, he was.
I obviously just got the offer a matter of days ago, so it's still fresh. But he idolizes Trent
Yes,
Williams.
he does.
That's one of the things you love to hear.
Another East
If
Texas. That's I forgot about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, as I mentioned, when I wrote about him over at OUinsider.com, it's like, well, the whole Trent Williams thing really didn't work out with Peyton Kirkland, but I don't think Ismail Kamara is Peyton Kirkland, so it's worth something in that recruitment. It certainly is.
Yeah, and then try to think who else. Let's talk Jalen Brewster real quick. Yeah, he's the number 6 overall defensive tackle in 27 in rivals. I expect that to go up. He was the defensive tackle MVP. I believe. Did Kamara win the MVP of offensive line? He
He
did, didn't
did.
he?
He was
Yeah.
the offensive line MVP. Yes.
And Scruggs got a gold ball, if I remember. And he did he get the 5-star invite?
I don't think. No, I don't think he even got a gold ball either, which was surprising to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I was talking. Can't remember. I was talking with the quarterbacks at that time when they started doing all the awards. So, but anyways, the Jalen Brewster, he is the number, I believe, like 50 something player in the country on Rivals. He loves Oklahoma. Oklahoma, Oregon, Parker. Oklahoma and Oregon. That's all he really would talk about, which I thought was weird because the Rivals National put Texas and Texas A&M out there, and I was like, I asked, and he basically was like, those are my top two. This is Oklahoma and Oregon. I was like, are they recruiting you the hardest? He goes, yes. Are they your favorites? Yes. Just very short Jalen Brewster type answers. And then he gave me a couple of really good long answers. And then he went back to his just short answers again. But he is coming up, like he said, June 10th or the 12th. He's coming up for an unofficial visit to Oklahoma. Then he's coming back for the Sooners under the Stars. He said he's going to try to get up for a camp as well. So you could expect maybe 3 trips this summer for Brewster. And I hate saying this right now, but if I was to pick, and I think you would agree with this, Parker, if you said gun to my head, where is Jalen Brewster going to go? Oklahoma would be where I would say he's going to go. He fits Oklahoma personality wise, quiet, head down. works. Everything about the culture at Oklahoma screams Jalen Brewster, by the way. Also, the other thing we know about Oklahoma and defensive tackles is Oklahoma may penny pinch when it comes to certain positions, but defensive tackle is not one of them. BV, Jim Nagy, Todd Bates, collective, the profit sharing, whatever, they're going to pay the top kid in this region, right? Like we've seen it over and over again. So you would expect Oklahoma to do that. Now, the thing is, you're going up against Oregon. That is the tricky part. They don't have to recruit you as hard as Oklahoma does because they'll walk in with a shoe dog and drop a few mil on you. That's what they do. I mean, that's what they do. So, um, I they have Phil Knight backing them. That's unfair, but it is what it is. I like Oklahoma for Brewster. I think Oklahoma is in a good spot. Um, I thought as far as just overall talent at rivals, I think Oklahoma's in a pretty decent spot for a lot of the top guys that got awards. Parker, Outhouse, Kirkland, um, Brewster, Kamara, Peyton Houston. Like it felt like everybody's Oklahoma that Oklahoma's in a decent spot for was winning awards, right? Like, did you not notice that yesterday? It was kind of
Hmm.
it was very different. So you spoke with Outhouse. Let's talk about the safety room. Um, I will get into their other target in Kirkland if you want to go into Outhouse real quick.
Well, Oklahoma hasn't even offered Outhouse yet, so they got to pull the trigger
Right,
at that point.
right. But I mean, as far as like his what he thinks of Oklahoma at this
Yeah, he
point.
likes Oklahoma. Been up there several times. Everything about the program speaks to him. He just, I mean, he kind of said it. He's like, I'm just waiting on them to pull the trigger to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit further, a little bit harder. So, yeah, really impressive defensive back, well put together. He can play corner, he can play safety. There's some versatility there, and stands to reason that Oklahoma would have a pretty solid shot at him and with him if they did extend an offer, but we
Yeah.
haven't seen that yet. So perhaps it comes later this spring, perhaps it comes this summer, perhaps it comes at camp. I don't know, but that's definitely a name to know in the 2027 class. And I'll toss another one in there. Jasper Ngokre
Yeah.
down at Richardson, 6'6", 290-pound offensive tackle. Like him a lot, and
And why do you like him? Who does he remind you of?
he reminds me of a younger Felix Ojo.
There you go.
And that's not to say he's going to be a five-star in a year because there was a lot of work and a lot of development that went into Felix Ojo's rise from a modest three-star prospect to the five-star number one offensive tackle that we all know him as today. But Jasper Ngokere, physically speaking,
Mhm.
reminds me of where Felix Ojo was a year ago at this time.
How you do that with some of these O line, D line, the way I do with a lot of quarterbacks and wide receivers. Find those, I guess, what you call man crushes that are three. You get Williams, Winery, um, Felix Ojo, and now how to pronounce his last name? I don't want to butcher it. So
Ngokere.
Ngokre. See, I let Parker do that because if I don't, I have to hear him a couple times pronounce it, and then I'll go with it. Ngokre, like you have a propensity to find those underheralded guys at that position, just like I do at quarterback, DB, and wide receiver. I think By Job's the last three-star D tackle that kind of, I was the one that found him, but yeah, kind of did that with. But um, so Parker says he's going to be pretty good and he likes what he sees. There's a good chance he's going to be pretty good down the line at offensive tackle. Um, Devontre Kirkland out of Waco University High School, 2027. He's listed as an athlete. He's a safety cheetah type of a guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
6 foot, 175, 180 already. He won a gold ball. He is really, really good. Oklahoma and Baylor are, and you would think Baylor would be just a far and away guaranteed there, but I kind of lean Oklahoma. And it's not a homer talk. Like he even kind of said it. He goes, "Look, I want to announce before summer's over with, before my junior year starts, because I don't want to deal with it." He said, and he does. He has that personality of not liking the recruiting process all that much. Spoke to some people around Norman. He's a take. Um, he's a number 217 player in the country. Just a really, really good overall player. Performed really, really well at the Rivals camp yesterday. Long arms. Has a frame that he's going to weigh 210, 215. Easy. Easy. And if you watch his film, he likes to bring the boom. So
Hmm.
he fits that cheetah role. And that's exactly what he said to me. He goes, I love what Oklahoma does with their DBs and their safeties. That speaks to me. I love the fact that they're going to move me around and let me cause havoc. And that's what I want to do. He he kind of likes the Kendall Dolby role, he said. And that's what Oklahoma has talked to him about. Brandon Hall has been recruiting him really hard. Been out to see him a couple of times already over the last year. He went out. He was out there, I believe, last week. He said in Waco, and he said he expects him to show back up when spring practice shows around. He's going to visit Oklahoma in June and July, so expect him to be back before a decision's made. I again, Baylor, Oklahoma seem to be the top two schools. From Texas Tech's always going to linger because they feel like they're going to throw some money around, but those two right now seem to be the top two. And him being from Waco, you should be scared if you're an Oklahoma fan. I mean, Baylor could come in and swoop that up. It's right down the street, but he really, really, really likes Oklahoma a lot. Um, Before we go, talk about Peyton Houston because he was phenomenal.
Yes, yes, he was. And man, that continues to be the guy that Oklahoma hones in on in the 2027 class at quarterback. That's no secret at this point to anybody that's been following along at ouinsider.com. But yeah, man, he's one of those guys that it feels like he's at everything. Shows up to every camp, every competition, every opportunity to showcase his skills alongside some of the best in the region or in the nation at the quarterback position. Man, he's there and he's putting on a clinic. And that was the case yesterday. Walked away with the quarterback MVP honor, which was well deserved. I mean, this is a guy that, as I've said many times, I am 100% sold on what he's going to be at the next level. I think he is a college football superstar in the making. Really like where Oklahoma stands right now. In fact, as we record this podcast, I do believe Ben Arbuckle is headed down to Shreveport to tap in with Peyton Houston. That was the plan for this Monday. So again, as we sit here recording, he's either already down there or on his way down there. Peyton Houston is the lone priority in the 2027 class for Oklahoma. And until they get conclusive word on where he's headed, I really don't expect them to offer anybody else in the
Yeah.
27 class because they want to make it very apparent, and they have, that Peyton Houston is their guy and that he's going to, and he can be, and that he's going to be the next great trigger man in Ben Arbuckle's offensive system.
There you go. Yeah, he was phenomenal. I liked Malachi Ziegler. I like Kason Delgado out of Broken Arrow. All three of those 2027. The 27 quarterbacks there were phenomenal yesterday. That class is loaded, Parker. Just flat loaded. So heaven forbid Oklahoma misses out on Peyton Houston. They've got some pretty good targets that they can go after that are in that class. That class is one of those. It's a special class, quarterback wise. It reminds me of 23, just the hype, right? Like the hype around 23 of how deep it was. I think 27 and 23 are very similar just because of the depth of that class. That class at quarterback is just sick, like just unbelievable. So, anyways, we're going to have so much more for you guys over on Rivals, ouinsider.com. So much we're going to talk about. If you're not a member, obviously 9.95 a month, 99.95 for the whole year. Um, and soon enough they'll both on three and Rivals. If you sign up for Rivals, you'll get on three. Sign up for on three, you get Rivals. Vice versa. So, uh, Go over there, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. Or if you're a college student with a .edu, email us ouinsider@rivals.com. If you're active military, email us ouinsider@rivals.com. You have to email us from your email accounts, your active duty, and your .edu. We will send you a promo code to get OU Insider for a whole year for $11.95. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast powered by Riverwind Casino. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.